We got WrestleMania Night 1 and WrestleMania Night 2 to talk about. A tale of two cities in the same city.
We get the best 30 minutes of WWE promos maybe this entire century. Because no one had any script to follow, so they just had a bunch of crazy out-of-their-mind lunatics being entertaining. You just wake up your own child.
Go ahead, Vinny.
Drew McIntyre
That was at
Bobby
Craig's
Lashley.
house, I think.
No, it wasn't. The boy's 14. He doesn't do
Whose
that.
baby was that?
Vinny's.
You have the big hero coming out. He's going to do this for the goddamn fans and his family and everything else, and he fucking loses to a submission hold. That's how you opened WrestleMania after a year in a fucking pandemic. Fuck you! On the scale of impressive things that Bad Bunny did in this match, the Canadian Destroyer is at the very bottom. The other guy has to do a full backflip and land on his head and then crash on the ground.
Absolutely.
The guy doing the move does nothing.
Bianca yanks her hair free, whips her opponent, Sasha, across the ribs with her hair. I know there was an actual storm going on, but the crack from this hair whip was louder than any of this. Titus O'Neil, of all people, tells Hulk Hogan what names he is and is not allowed to call different people. Chuck's 4W double down by saying he even used the hard R. That's funny. That is a funny joke.
So she comes out, and there's this big fucking box, and Byron Saxton cannot figure out what this is. He calls it a box-like structure, this
That's what
box.
he said. The definition of box, a container, case, or receptacle, usually rectangular, of wood, metal, cardboard, etc., often with a lid or removable cover. You cannot have more of a box than this box we saw here.
Alexa has goo coming out of her face. She's got goo. Goo is coming out of her hairline, covering her face.
You must do the hand gesture.
She had goo coming out.
Thank you.
Goo!
My poor wife is watching all of this, trying to wrap her head around it.
Why was she watching this, Vinny? You're a bad husband. The Bellas show up when everyone's expecting Becky, and then they beat her up and pose with Hulk Hogan. What reaction do you think you're going to get? Ding dong, hello! I was told that this match was the match the fans got into more than any match all weekend.
I could see
So
that.
regardless of what you heard with crowd sweetening, this they got the most into.
WrestleMania began and ended with really fun World Championship matches with finishes that left me that baffled.
The first night was absolutely, positively, definitely the superior show. Granny, we all watched an episode of The Munsters.
I know.
Did you?
Yes.
That show was so much better than Monday Night Raw. One of them was a wrestling show, and one was a shitty attempted comedy. And the shitty attempted comedy was not the 1960s television show, but it was Raw.
After WandaVision, whenever I hear this song, I will in my head sing, "It was Agatha all along." Hogan and Titus. Replace them with Static. It's still black and white, but less problematic.
That is a good one.
Roses are red. Violets are blue. At least you aren't as green as a woman's gauntlet on night one.
Huh.
I went to Vinny to read these. God damn.
Sammy versus Kevin Owens. Logan turns on Sammy. So much for friendship. Give that a 6.
Vince booked a match between Fiend and Randy. I would rather a crab gave me a handy. Holds and goo and a bunch of tricks. Rather unwrap a bag of dicks. Vince thought, God damn, this is it. But this match was a piece of shit. Thank you. I wrote that during the show.
It's amazing.
Oh, but during the Attitude Era, man, Sunny's out there showing her tits, and she's shaking her ass, and we had all these women. They're like celebrating.
Yes.
And they're making it like it's the greatest thing when these women just started being whatever they were.
Jerry Lawler has a long speech about, I'd love to be the guy going city to city recruiting women to join the Ho Train.
Because you know how thankful they'd be. That's what he says. This was each show's big chance to capture viewers from the other show on an unopposed night. I thought the NXT show was good, but just there. And I thought that Dynamite put largely their best foot forward. And Dynamite violently thrashed NXT here, beating them by almost 500,000 viewers.
And as their stretchers are taken out of the ambulance and allegedly into the emergency room, and they're being wheeled down the hallway, Adam Cole is still talking shit to Kyle O'Reilly.
I loved it. I'm glad that Kushida's a champion. I was unaware he'd never won another title in his career, but that's what I was told.
And there's a picture that was circulating all weekend. Raquel, Rhea, and Bianca, and they're just backstage at NXT, and now here they are, the 3 champions of the entire company. It's a coronation for the new champions of the world. That part was great. And Indy's very, very upset because Austin has cock-blocked her. And I looked this up to see if there's actually a female equivalent for this term, but essentially there's still a cock there, still being blocked.
I think in wrestling parlance, it would be an inverted cock block.
That's fair. That's fair.
There's a very intense scene going on, and you're really into it. And then there's that fucking character that has to say something silly. Why do you have to have Jar Jar Binks in this fucking movie? That's what I felt like watching this match.
They did the longest, most convoluted high spot in the history of Dynamite. It's like 20 or 30 moves long. Duck this, counter this, rip that, duck this, drop down, pop up, leapfrog. And in the end, they do a big face-off, and Phoenix goes, and Nick just clotheslines his head off. Like Stan Hansen. And yes, in AEW, if you don't do a flip, that makes you a heel.
I love this match. It was one of the best AEW TV matches ever. Maybe one of the best matches they've ever had in AEW. I just thought it was a barn burner.
Red Velvet was number 2.
Number 2? How is Red Velvet ranked higher than Dr. Britt Baker?
He does not have a lot of charisma, and he comes out here in a bowling shirt.
We were on a bowling team. We were cool. All these dorks on the board are like, well, they must have a great plan for the May pay-per-view. They must have a big match for that pay-per-view. What match do you have bigger than War Games?
Don't know.
What else? The Bucks are showing off their allegedly $17,000 shoes, which may or may not be real.
Darby Allin defends the TNT title against Matt Hardy in a Falls Count Anywhere match. This was such an ECW throwback, they may as well have had Natural Born Killers playing all the way through it. The best thing on either show by miles and miles and miles was the AEW opener, and NXT had nothing to close that gap. AEW wins.
You know, somebody was saying, Bryan called it a blow-away show and then nitpicked some stuff. Yes, I nitpicked some stuff. And I still thought it was a blow-away show. That fucking opener, you could have had that opener and like maybe a whole bunch of other shit, and I may still have said it was a blow-away show. So anyway, they win, and that's that.